I remember when I was in my 30s having numbness in my toes. I used to run 6 miles every day in the hills of Portland. Okay, and my biggest problem always was my toes would start to be numb and hurt until they became completely numb, basically, and then they didn't bother me while I was running. Okay, just the ends of my toes. And I never really could explain that. I tried different kinds of shoes and, just put up with it for a long, long, long time. More recently, some urinary frequency that was not normal for me. And the fact that my dad had died of APPD about 15 years ago. And so I knew that was a family, inherited possibility. I contacted Dr. Schiffman and Dr. Mary Wallace, and they had me tested, and I was in fact positive. Seeing a gradual worsening of a situation, even though it was still pretty slight at that time, it's worrisome. And even though finding out you have APD is not necessarily a great thing to find out, for me it was more comforting to know what it was than wonder what's going on. So it really was good for me to find out personally. I was diagnosed 2 years ago, and I have not changed that much in 2 years. Honestly, my dad died at 75. I'm only 62 right now. Okay, so if I'm following his track, I'm pretty far away from the point where I'm falling apart. But it's worse. It's gotten worse in 2 years, but not a lot worse. And we're still traveling. I retired from my job. I'm working 1 day a week now. So I definitely needed to slow down. I needed to just work less hard, have more time to rest during the daytime. And if I am sensible with my rate of speed, I'm fine right now at the moment. The one thing I will say about having this disorder is that your body is not forming glycogen correctly. Therefore, that energy storage that's in your cells normally isn't there. At least not there very much. So when the blood sugar goes low, there's nothing behind it that's going to keep you going. And this has been the case for my whole life. When I would run out of food, I was low in energy, I would collapse. I had to eat something because I was like falling apart. I've always been that way, and now I know why, because I don't have glycogen in my body that works correctly. Okay, so I just have to make sure I have my food often enough to keep my blood sugar at a reasonable level. We watched my dad go from through his whole series till he was no longer alive. There's no magic to what's going to happen eventually, so I wanted to know what I had, and if there was any possible way of helping. And Dr. Schiffman was going through some clinical trials, and I thought better to find out now and maybe get involved in whatever I could to see if I could help with the course of where it goes. Disease process lasts 10 years. I mean, the active period where you're going to feel differences is probably 10 years or 12 years or more. So it's a long period. The average lifespan is 71, something like that for APPD. So it's not shortening life, like some diseases which take out people at a very young age. You live your life to the fullest, and we'll see what happens with the research, and we may get a chance to get even more. But it's not the end of the world. There's a lot of years left to enjoy and do things.